Thank you for coming and watching our YouTube videos again. We remain your Snita farm, your Snita cassava farm located in Agumbiade village. Today, I want to talk about cassava harvesting. We are doing this in response to some of your questions. So I will start by telling us that when to harvest your cassava varies depending on the variety. Some people harvest 8 months, 9 months, 10 months, 15 months, 16 months. Some variety can stay as much as 18 months on the ground. So factors that influence when you harvest, the varieties you planted will can determine when you're going to harvest. The season, you need to understand that cassava is a very seasonal product. At certain time of the year, cassava comes very cheap. In another time, cassava is relatively scarce. And I will talk more about the season as I go along this presentation. Your plan for the farm, another third point, your plan for the land. If you think you want to cultivate your land now and there's cassava on it, you will possibly harvest it so that you can cultivate the land. And when you want to cultivate is a function of maybe rain sometimes, because when you understand the rain pattern you may want to quickly harvest so that you can plant. So what you want to do for with the land can also determine when you are going to harvest your cassava. Even the nature of the land, if you are planted in a waterlogged area or in a bit watery area, that means that you need to harvest before the onset of the major rain so that your tuber does not get rotten. That will also affect the time when you will harvest it. How do you harvest? Before you commence your harvest, once you have an idea of when you want to harvest, you need to prepare for it. What are the kind of things you need to do? One is you need to find a buyer or market where you want to sell the cassava. Cassava is a highly perishable product. Immediately it's out of the ground, within 48 hours, it's losing its economic value. So you must be ready. There must be a ready market or buyer to uptake the product from you. So you need to find the buyer. You need to plan the logistics because cassava is a bulky product, more than 70% water content. So you need to plan the logistics. Who will help you move it from harvesting point to the consumer, to the buyer, or to the processing center? Or are they coming from processing center to come and buy the product on the farm? You need to consider this. All of these factors affect the pricing, because somebody that is coming to pick the product from your farm will not price it the same way somebody that you take it to his own processing plant will price it. So you must plan for the logistics. The next thing you need to do is you need to cut the stems. One of the problem or challenges you can have in cassava harvesting is managing your stem. So you cut your stems and take it away from the farmland, gather them or stack them together in one corner. That is in readiness for your harvesting. So you gather all of those things together and put it in one corner. Then you uproot. Maybe after gathering it, you are sure that the farm is relatively now open, you start uprooting. And as you are uprooting it, you cut the tubers from the stem, and you can be packing it. Depending on how you want to transport it, you start packing it ready for transportation. That's essentially what you need to understand about the harvesting. First, and our first harvest, we sold to both starch company, garri processing factories, local garri processing factory, modern garri processing factory. We sold to all of these people just to have an idea of what the pricing of the sales will be. If you are selling to processing factories, starch processing factory, garri processing factory, they typically buy using scale. They will weigh it and tell you the price per ton. For starch company, they are very conscious of the starch content. So they want to confirm the starch content of your cassava before buying it. Garri processing company, not too much emphasis on starch. So we sold to those kind of companies, and we also sold to local people as part of our sales process. What do we learn as challenging? So when you are selling to those factories, depending on how far or close is your factory to, how far or close is your farm to the factory, it might pays you. Like for us, we were in somewhere in Odeda. If you know Odeda, Imagine from Odeda we were selling to Ososa. Ososa is somewhere close to Shagam, close to Shagamu Express, on Lagos Ibadan Expressway. That was a distance. What we found at the end was that a chunk of our income was going to transportation. We're spending a lot of money in transporting it. But when we sold to the local processor, we spend less on transportation because they were very close to the farm and they were willing to buy it to make garri. When we also did a comparison, we were better off selling to the local people because I'll give you a good example. If today that maybe we're doing this video, 26th of November, if we want to sell to factory, they will possibly buy your 1 ton at a rate of about 110, and in a in a pon-pon, what we call pon-pon, which is the old Peugeot lorry. If you are very familiar with it, those Peugeot lorry, it's about 3 tons that is inside it. So if you go and sell to factory, that 3 ton they will pay you about 330,000 naira. Transportation to get to the processing factory for us is over 100,000 naira. So we'll be left with just 200,000 naira. But this same quantity, if you are selling it to local people, we will sell it for 350,000 naira and we will only transport it with 30,000 naira. So we're having a net gain of 320,000 naira. So after evaluating this year, for example, we do not sell to factory. We will sell to local garri processor to process if we are not processing it ourselves, because we also have a processing facility that on the farm now. So um we started harvesting in May of 2023, which is 1 year after planting. I will tell you the harvesting was a long one. It took us 6 weeks to harvest the 10-hectare farm. It was a lot of effort that went in. A lot of human beings were involved. Packing, loading, all of these things took us a while before we could get it completed. And the unfortunate thing was, imagine if when we started middle of May, so before we could complete the harvesting, we were already sometimes in July. So our planting for 2023 then got delayed. It got seriously delayed because harvesting took a long time. How do we harvest? Just like I've explained, we will cut it, we will cut the stem the previous day, pack it away, then we cut the tubers from the stem, and then the women will use baskets to carry it from the farm to the roadside. So when the truck comes, they will load it from the roadside to the truck. To harvest a pawpaw, so to say, which is about 3 ton, we add like 8 personnel, 8 man day hour, from those that will harvest it to those that will use basket, the women that will use basket to carry it to the road, and from the road when they pour it on the ground, they will now load it to those things. It took a lot of resources from us. But this year's harvest, 2024 harvest that we are still doing, which is the harvesting of the one we planted in July 2023. One of the decisions we took was we're not going to harvest the farm in at once, so we decided to harvest the farm in stages. So we have harvested about 50% of the farm as at today, because the market is not good for garri now. So we decided not to harvest again. The price in the market is very low, and as a farmer we are there to make profit, so we stop harvesting. We will continue the harvest of our tubers next year, 2025. It will not rot and nothing will happen. We've harvested all the area that we think has a high water level already. So this year's harvest, we started it in July, which is about a year after we planted it, and as part of the process, we've established a small scale garri factory. Maybe in one of the subsequent videos, I will also talk to us about garri factory. So we have a garri factory. So once they cut the stem from the tubers this year, they will put it in sack. We no longer use basket, so they will put the cassava in sack, bring it to the roadside. At the roadside, we will weigh it. So we now weigh our harvest. We will weigh it in bags, and from the roadside we will move it to the processing plant. We have the power trailer. If you've seen maybe one of those our video on the power tiller, That power tiller is also used as conveying equipment. So we have a cart. We built a trolley system at the back of that power tiller, and they will load it into the trolley system, and that is what is used to move it from the farm to the processing plant, and we start processing. We saved some time because in previous year, women will first load into basket, they will offset it by the road, we will reload it. So we decide to redefine the process. Rather, once it's harvested, it's put into the bags, they bring it to the roadside, we weigh it and load into our trolley. And that our trawler move it to the processing point. You will be shocked. The day that our trolley did not work, we paid 20,000 naira for carriage alone. And that's one thing you need to understand about farming. You need to look at things that can save you cost. Yes, we invested money to buy the power tiller, but it serves a lot of purpose. We use it to till the ground. We also use it to carry load. So that's how we harvested in July. We harvested part in July, first round in July, and then we moved to second round. That first round was about um, was about 12 tons. We harvested about 12 tons, processing to garri. We took some time off so that we could prepare that bit for planting. So we sprayed that element, that section, and then we moved to the next section, which was also about another 15 tons. So while we're harvesting the second stage, that first stage was getting ready for our planting. So we staggered the farm planting now to accommodate all this differential and to manage our resources better. That's how we're harvesting and processing into our garri. But when we got to September, the market pricing started nosediving. And it was at that point that we'll have to stop harvesting. The few harvesting that we did after that time were just areas that we think the water level is high and we didn't want the cassava to rot. So we sold those ones. We didn't process those ones into garri. We just sold those ones raw to people that are processing garri because it was too small to assemble our team together again. So we sold it straight. So for you, if you want to, you need to have a plan for your cassava properly, and you need to be conscious of the price. Today, our cassava farm, cassava is still on the farm. We now know when is the best time. Cassava is most expensive, garri is most expensive, cassava is most expensive in between the month of May and July every year. That is the period that cassava is most expensive. So if you can keep your circle, your cassava harvest to be around that period, you always get the best return on your farm. We have processed some of our garri already and we have locked them up in stock. We will not sell till next year. We are not under pressure. We cannot sell our product at a much more reduced price because that's one of the challenges of farmers. Everybody brings the product to market the same time. No storage, no processing, but we're happy that we've processed our own and we will keep it. When it's March, we'll start selling, or April, we'll start selling our remaining product. We will also harvest some to process in March. Hopefully, we'll have rain. In our farm, from experience, rain, the first rain of the year is usually last week of March. So by the time we have the first rain, we'll start harvesting, getting ready to process it. And you need to also understand that cassava need, especially if you want to sell to factory, that the starch content is very important. You need to harvest your cassava immediately there is a new rain onset.